Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Got everyone's attention. It's time to begin our public hearing tonight. And before we actually begin the processes, I would ask newly elected Mayor Dr. Ken Moore to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag's on my right. If you would, please stand. Ken?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please have a seat. So you are at the a public hearing. The public hearing is an opportunity for the citizens to speak tonight. We'll kind of go over the explanation. We'll ask our consultant to do that. But before I do that, there are different groups, different parts of our county, the cities that are represented on this coordinating committee. And so I'm going to start with the mayor of Nolensville. If she would just introduce herself as we come around. Would you give us your name and the area of responsibility, the area that you're covering, so that everyone can recognize their representative? Some will be mayors, some of them will not be. Mayor?
I'm the mayor for Marlon.
Good evening. I'm Eric Stuckey. I'm the city administrator for the city of Franklin, and my role is specifically to represent the largest municipally owned utility in the county.
Robert Green, soil and water conservation district. Good evening, my AOR is Spring Hill, and I'm the mayor. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Anderson. I'm the mayor of Fairview, Tennessee.
And I'm Chuck Barber with Middle Tennessee Electric, and we represent the largest utility in Williamson County.
I'm Rogers Anderson, the Williamson County Mayor.
Ken Moore, Mayor of the City of Franklin.
Brian Sadler, Mayor of Town of Thompson Station. Good evening, I'm Mark Gorman, I'm the Mayor of Brentwood, Tennessee.
Jason Golden, Superintendent for Williamson County Schools, and I represent the largest school system in the county.
Kel McDowell, Williamson, Inc., we are the Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Roger Lindsay. I am the chairman of the Franklin Planning Commission.
And if you're wondering, on the back row, none of them are having to talk. They're lawyers. We try to keep them on the back row if we can. So at this time, I will ask Greg Dale to please step up to the microphone and kind of give an overview of what we have been doing for the better part of a year and a half. Greg Dale.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me start with some background, some context. This process starts with Tennessee law, what's known as Public Chapter 1101, which provides for this growth planning process. And as the coordinating committee knows, that the terminology that we'll be using here are what are known as urban growth boundaries, planned growth areas, which are the areas identified for growth in unincorporated county, and the rural areas. The Tennessee statutes require that every county engage in this growth planning. Williamson County did that in 2001, and the plan has not been amended since that time. And each of the 7 jurisdictions, that is 6 municipalities in the county, have concluded that it is time for it to be amended. So just in terms of the process that was followed, it started with the formation of an advisory committee that had representatives from each jurisdiction and most of the same stakeholders that you heard introduced tonight. It involved detailed growth planning by each jurisdiction. It involved an initial round of public outreach in each jurisdiction. Each community engaged in public outreach as they determined appropriate. It involved development of guiding principles, which I will summarize here in just a few minutes. We also conducted a symposium where we invited representatives from different regions around the country to come and share their experience, those areas that I had engaged in similar kind of growth planning. And then there were a multiple rounds of growth boundary draft maps that were discussed at that time at the advisory committee level. And then ultimately, the advisory committee recommended the convening of the coordinating committee. The coordinating committee was formed. Another round of draft maps were engaged in for discussion. And then ultimately, each of the jurisdictions, each of the 7 jurisdictions had its own set of formal public hearings as required by statute. And then most recently, the coordinating committee acted, and the language in the motion, the language in the minutes is to forward the plan for consideration at the public hearings, which is where we are now at this point. Let me just walk you through a couple of things here. The guiding principles, I think, were an important part of this process early on, in terms of trying to set the compass for the way that this process was going to occur. The first of those was really just a declaration that the jurisdictions wanted to engage in a coordinated, cooperative process. Set the planning horizon, that is the time frame in which it's looking at. 20 years which is what the statute requires. And I looked at future growth, and it looked at growth forecasts, both growth forecasts as the individual jurisdictions were using those in their local planning process, but also involving growth forecasts by the University of Tennessee as a point of reference. One of the other guiding principles was the importance of planning related to the provision of adequate and timely infrastructure and public facilities in a fiscally responsible manner. Again, that was guided by the statute. Those were one of the guiding principles. And then what was called regional form, which was really just a way of saying that there was a desire to preserve the distinctions between urban, suburban, and rural, to keep that character of the county. The importance of resource protection, things like green spaces, farmland, forests, recreation areas, wildlife management areas, all things that are called for in the statute were embraced as well. It was also important for the jurisdictions to recognize with each other the importance of local autonomy. In other words, the idea was that the jurisdictions would be coordinating in a cooperative way the boundaries of the growth areas, while recognizing, number 8 here, that local planning would continue to occur within those jurisdictions. In other words, there was a desire to use this process to supplement the local planning, to look at those boundary areas. And then finally, the idea of interlocal agreements as being a potential mechanism to button down some of these issues. And I'll talk more about that here, with the 2 goals that were identified as part of this process. The one was to ensure that the growth boundaries, the UGBs, the PGAs, and the rural areas, that they function as efficiently and optimally as possible. And what that really had to do with was this process, as it was set out in the beginning, was to be about more than just lines on a map where those growth boundaries were intended to be, but it was about making sure that that system worked as well as it could. So a couple of strategies were identified. One was to create interim policies ultimately that would deal with what happened in those growth boundaries between now and in the future, when municipalities might or might not annex into those areas. And those were intended to relate to things like policies related to how they were zoned, how wastewater was provided, and again, the use of interlocal agreements to help lock down or memorialize those policies. And then the other policy that was identified early on in the process was the idea that by virtue of participating in this process, each of the jurisdictions agreed not to annex outside of those growth boundaries. You know, the idea, I think, as discussed by the advisory committee, the advisory group, and then the coordinating committee was, you know, if we're going to go to all this trouble to identify these new boundaries, we want to make them real. We want to make sure that the growth is contained within those boundaries. The second goal had to do with continuing the practice of collaborating. In other words, I think there was an interest in having a mechanism in place to make sure that another 20 years doesn't go by before these are revisited. So one of the strategies was to agree that the growth plan would be revisited every 5 years in the future, and also that the that there would be some continuation of this sort of multi-jurisdictional planning function, loosely called at this point the implementation committee. In other words, this group or a group like this representing these jurisdictions and the different stakeholders would meet on a regular basis, perhaps on a quarterly basis, to continue to operate as a regional forum for planning discussions. And then the third strategy here, was to kind of tee up the idea of a regional approach to transportation, a multi-jurisdictional approach to transportation, as something that would be part of the agenda for that continuing group. So that all laid the groundwork then for the maps. This map is the existing growth area map, and the darker colors represent the municipal boundaries. The lighter colors around them are the growth areas as they exist now. And then the orange areas that you see on there are the planned growth areas. And again, the planned growth areas, just terminology-wise, are those areas within unincorporated county that are identified for growth area. This is the current map. The proposed map, which is a result of the many different versions that we've been talking about here, is what you see before you. Again, the dark color is the current municipal boundaries. The lighter color are the proposed growth boundaries. I want to direct your attention, if I could, if this cursor is, can you see my cursor here? To the area, the Triune area and the Arrington area. Those, in fact, all of these orange areas are those planned growth areas in the county. But these two in particular are areas that the county wanted to highlight. This is the Triune area, and you can see the red boundary is that proposed planned growth area. And if you can see just to the east of it, there are a couple of parcels that are here in green that have been proposed to be added to that growth area, that planned growth area. That did not occur at that last meeting of the coordinating committee because the county wanted to specifically encourage input on that and wanted to direct everyone's attention to that. Similarly, the Arrington planned growth area, you can see in red, and then there are these green areas that some folks have suggested as being additions to those planned growth areas. Again, I'm only highlighting those because the county is specifically asking for input on those before it comes back before the coordinating committee. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Christie, anything you want to comment, you or Jeff, either one from legal side? Okay, a little of the ground rules then for the public hearing. Tonight is your night, one of the nights you'll have an opportunity to step up to the microphone. I have the sign-in sheet that people have requested to speak. It's a night that the committee that introduced himself earlier. We're not making comments. We're taking no action tonight. It is strictly your night to tell us where you live, how you feel about the process or what you have seen tonight. So with that, I'm going to ask if you have signed up to speak, and we have a couple of pages of people. If you would hold your remarks to approximately 3 minutes, I will try to give you a prompt. When you hit 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll say 30 seconds to kind of wrap up your closing remarks. We're specifically interested in where you live because the committee has different representatives on that. So if you're from, we recognize the yellow T-shirts. They're from Thompson Station, and from the other areas, they've been coming to quite a few meetings. So with that in mind, I will now open up the public hearing, and the first one that is signed up is a Jennifer Furry. And if I mispronounce your name, I got close. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me, allowing me to speak to you all. My family and I moved.
Hold on just a moment. Greg, could you come and get your, somebody knocks your computer off, laptop.
Is there any way to make the microphone a little louder?
We're getting,
Thank you. My family and I moved here 2 years ago from the city life in California. We wanted to get away from the growing population and crowds, move to the country, and start a homestead. We were blessed enough to have had that gift. We are very concerned about the traffic on Dr. Robinson and Pope's Chapel. Every single day while driving with my permitted daughter, we experience a semi-truck or dump truck crossing over into our lane or speeding. This terrifies me as a mother of four children behind the wheel driving these side roads. Please reconsider encroaching on our area in the country and remove us from your urban growth boundaries. It is already too crowded. If we wanted to be in the city, we would have stayed in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, would you identify yourself? Would you identify your address for the record?
I am Jennifer. I'm in Williamson County. I am in Thompson Station. Do I have to give you my address?
Burwood area.
Yeah, Burwood area. Yeah, thank you.
Next is Sally Rashad.
That was close, I'll take it.
I apologize.
That's all right, everybody does it. Good evening, my name is Sally Rashad. I live at 2633 Thompson Station Road East. My house is this little tiny blue box. I have copies if you want, surrounded by construction. I'm not here to tell you what kind of life my family and I have had since the destruction next door for Parsons Valley. I've already tried to get the officials in my town of Thompson Station to hear about the damage to my property, my vehicles, my neighborhood, but they don't listen. They don't care. They literally turn their backs and walk away from me. Let me make one thing clear. I'm not against growth. Properly managed growth can be good, beneficial to a community. That is not what we are fighting against. We're fighting against the greedy, reckless, overbearing, unsafe growth that's become synonymous with Thompson Station. Tonight, I'm not here about me. I'm already in the city limits. The damage is already done to my property, to my neighborhood. I'm here because these people don't want to live my life. The years of secrecy, mismanagement of the town, lies to residents, me specifically, have resulted in the destruction of my neighborhood and the quiet dead-end streets alongside me, like Village Drive, Country Haven, Station South. The residents who live outside of the town limits simply do not want to end up like us. They don't want to live across the street from 300 apartments like I'm going to be. They don't want to live next door to 350-door development like I'm going to be. They do not want 2,000 new neighbors on a 2-lane road like I'm going to be. They want safe, uncongested streets. They want generational farms to pass down to their families. They want peace and quiet in their backyards like I used to have. They have seen how the officials from Thompson Station have treated their own residents who trusted and elected them. They've seen us disrespected, lied to, deceived, and ignored.
Seconds.
They are not just landowners of the day. They are the fabric of this community. When I listen to their stories and see their old pictures, I'm struck by how deep their roots run. There's an old saying that says, if you build it, they will come. And they will come. That's true. The greed for land and money will take over what used to be a safe, beautiful town. And someday when there is no farmland left, they will be gone. Because what brought them to Thompson Station has been destroyed. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Mr. Henry Hafner. And following him, if you want to kind of get in the queue, would be Kathy Marlon. So Henry Hafner is first, then Kathy Marlon. Also, any material left, we will scan that in. If you leave your material that you've got here, if you leave it on the desk, staff will make copies of those and get them out to the committee members. Hafner?
Thank you. My name is Henry Hafner, and I own the farm at 2795 Owl Hollow Road. Good to see you all again. I've spoken at the last 3 countywide meetings as well as 2 in Spring Hill. My neighbors in Owl Hollow and Duplex, most of whom are multi-generational farmers, do not want to be included in the proposed expansion of Spring Hill's UGB. We feel that this puts us squarely in the path of predatory developers, and it's not merely a desire to preserve a nice view. We're trying to preserve our way of life. I want my children, and Lord willing, their children after them, to shoot, to hunt, and fish on the family farm, just like I did, and my father before him, and my grandfather before him. And if you put an industrial park right behind our property, well, that's going to make that really difficult. Now, we presented our concerns to Spring Hill. My neighbors and my family, and on our own time and with our own resources, contacted all the residents in the eastern section of the proposed Spring Hill UGB expansion. Everyone we spoke to opposed the plan and sought to be removed. That data, if you know, is reflected in this map right here. Most of y'all have seen it, although it has been updated since the last meeting with more red. We presented this at the Spring Hill Bowman meeting several weeks ago, and we were very politely dismissed, but dismissed nonetheless. We were told that Spring Hill deserved this land for future growth given their investment in the new interstate exit on I-65, which none of us asked for or had input with. Now, at the October meeting, several of the committee members had asked for signatures and parcel numbers and names for each resident that had sought to be removed. We gathered signatures of 137 residents, which you will see there. They're indexed and cross-tabbed, again, at our own time and our own expense. You have a stack here. There should be enough for everyone. I also emailed them to all the committee members that I had addresses for earlier this afternoon. So that brings us to this evening. The City of Spring Hill, we presented to them, and they did not hear our concerns. And so we have no recourse really to speak into that. We can't vote for or against them. So we feel like we're in a situation a little bit like the persistent widow in Luke 18, where the Lord Jesus tells the story of a widow who comes before a judge and is so persistent, maybe annoying a little bit, in her complaint that the judge will grant her request just to get rid of her. So we look to you, the members of this commission. Please protect us, those of us, the farmers and rural folks from southern Williamson County. We've been here for years, and we don't want to be gobbled up by a city against our wishes. So we ask that you vote against, to deny the proposed expansion of Spring Hill's UGB. Thank you very much for your time.
Next is Kathy Marlon. Following her will be Dana Frick. Miss Marlon?
Yes, sir. For the record, my address is 4632 Harpeth Paytonsville Road, Thompson Station, Tennessee. I want to thank Mayor Rogers Anderson for conducting the meetings and guiding us Williamson County residents through the process, as it is new to many of us. I want to thank the committee for your time and listening to our concerns. I share concerns with many residents regarding the preservation and protection of cemeteries on properties purchased by developers. Some developers coming into our communities do not realize there are old cemeteries on the properties dating back as far as the 1700s. Many are poorly marked and some have no headstones. They are scattered about our area. Graham Perry, Cemetery Program Specialist for the Tennessee Historical Commission, stated there are some 36,000 cemeteries in the state of Tennessee. Cemeteries should not be bulldozed over by developers. It is my understanding developers are currently not required by law to review maps in search of cemeteries on properties to be developed prior to beginning excavating of the property, even if a cemetery is recorded in the county archives. If the developer is not aware and does not look at the maps in advance, a cemetery can be destroyed. One grave can be considered a cemetery in the state of Tennessee and is not required to include headstones or other markings. The residents of our communities have great respect for their ancestors' resting places. Sadly, over the years, some cemeteries were lost for various reasons and were never recorded. We don't want that to happen in the future. Awareness needs to be raised for all those involved before the excavating of land begins. This is one more important reason we have concerns regarding expansion in our rural communities, and that we ask you to vote no for the UGB. We ask respectfully that you consider this issue before you vote. Thank you.
Following Dana Frick is Mr. Ken Davis. Dana?
Hi, my name is Dana Frick. I live at 1527 Indian Meadows Drive. It's adjacent to Thompson Station's boundary lines. This is a quote from James Cash Penney. Growth is never by mere chance. It is the result of forces working together. Planned and thoughtful growth with the cooperation and input of the leadership of all cities, representatives, and citizens of Williamson County is the end goal of this initial phase of growth map updates. However, what feels like has been lacking in discussion to date is the disclosure or reasons why Thompson Station wants to double the amount of land under their jurisdiction. There is a lack of comfort and trust that the vision of growth by Thompson Station is not in pace with the timing of the resulting infrastructure needs for Williamson County. There is an impression that Thompson Station is grabbing as much as they can now and worry later with how to support that growth. In the August 29th Growth Map Advisory Committee meeting, Mayor Ken Moore asked Thompson Station what density was planned for their expansion areas and when their wastewater treatment system will be operational. Sharing these figures publicly will allow for others to get a comfort level that their planned residential growth doesn't exceed the 1.5 million gallons per day capacity of the new system. In the September 19th meeting, Mayor Brian Stover voiced that commercial business is necessary to successful growth. In the October meeting, it was asked how many acres are being added, and that figure was not available. It was only relayed that it would all be residential growth. As the representatives in this room consider approving or revisiting the growth map boundary changes for Williamson County, please ask yourself if you are confident that Thompson Station has a fact-driven timeline for successful development of our most valued resource, undeveloped land in Williamson County. A comprehensive plan that is supportive of these 4 S's. 1, safe and efficient travel, putting the safety of our current residents ahead of the profits of the developers. 2, capacity for sewage, wastewater, beyond just residential. A capacity that includes something for commercial business and replacement of failing septic systems. 3, slope of residential density development that is gradual to surrounding areas and not random. 4, seamless process that collaboratively works with Williamson County government to keep pace with all infrastructure needs. The members of this committee are the eyes, ears, and heart of the future of Williamson County. Thank you for listening to your citizens and taking to heart the questions of how much land is appropriate to move into Thompson Station at this time, how the shifting of lands out of unincorporated Williamson County and into Thompson Station may accelerate growth to reckless and unsafe levels. Growth is needed, but growth without all parties working together will tarnish the quality of life and attractiveness of Williamson County. Once that reputation is broken, just like a broken vase, you can't regain that same level of integrity. Thank you.
Mr. Ken Davis is stepping up to the microphone. Following him will be Tennille Melcher. Mr. Davis.
Thank you. My name, excuse me. My name is Ken Davis. I'm a resident of Harpeth Woods, and I am presenting tonight for Kathy Weber. Kathy is unable to attend tonight and present herself, but I think these are important comments that need to be made. Here are 3 things we are asking the coordinating committee to review and consider before voting. First, the interlocal agreement must limit each city's growth to within the UGB and not outside, or this process has been for nothing. We need to protect our rural landscape. Second, we would like to have less dense zoning on the county borders. The new UGB of each city needs more open feel, transitioning to the county. The county government, along with county residents, should have the say as to what is permitted on the county-city border. the character of our beautiful county, which I hope stays beautiful, the character of our beautiful county areas has not been taken into consideration, and people are being pushed out of the way of their life. Third and finally, right now a city has to be able to provide services within 20 years to include an area into their UGB. In some areas, the services are not there for land that was assigned them from the last growth plan. Maybe the new interlocal agreement should require a city to provide a financial plan showing they will have the funds to meet the service requirements before they are permitted to include the land in a new boundary. Let's keep Williamson County livable and protect our rural landscape, which, by the way, I think the county about a year ago said we need to maintain our rural nature. And I would, as a personal request, that we do that.
Neil Melcher, and then following that is Adam Melcher. Neil?
Good evening. My name is Tennille Melcher. I live at Harpeth Woods Subdivision. I stand before you in a plea on behalf of the residents of unincorporated Williamson County, whose heritage and way of life are at risk due to the proposed urban growth boundaries. Oh, I promised myself I wasn't getting nervous. I have a stack over here that looks like this that you guys are going to all hopefully take home today that says, it starts off with why we care. In the materials provided, you'll find compelling evidence of our community's unified stance against inclusion of the UGB, illustrated by maps and a carefully compiled list of residents advocating for their right to self-determination. On the second page is a visual map showing the location of each resident who has requested to be removed from the Thompson Station UGB. This list does not include the residents who have already been removed earlier. Let's see. Following that, you're going to find a detailed spreadsheet with every resident who has signed an affidavit, the county registration numbers, the map, and parcel numbers. The last section, and what I hold dear most, and I hope that it resonates with you guys, are the voices of the generational residents. Their testimonials are, and there's about 14 pages worth, the testimonials are the testament to a legacy that spans centuries of lives lived and loved on the land. They're not just residents, they're the very fabric of Williamson County's rich history. We are a proud community of passionate residents who simply wish to be left alone and continue to live our best lives in Williamson County. Our Facebook group that we've created over about 2 months ago has grown to over 1,200 active residents, which now include even developers and mayors such as Mayor Stover. Unchecked growth threatens to erase our history, and once it's gone, we will never be able to get it back. These residents have thrived as unincorporated residents for generations and are all united in the belief that our legacy and the right to choose to be removed from the UGB is worth protecting. I urge you to consider the affidavits that we've all signed, and everybody behind me as well, and everybody at home, and this community's clear message. We wish to continue our stewardship of this land, and as we have for hundreds of years. I ask that you respect I ask for your respect, your attention, and ultimately your actions to honor the will of the people. I will give the signed affidavits, which are all in this beautiful binder, to, I'm assuming, the county attorney. Let's see, or whoever it is. Okay, that's okay. I only have one more sentence. I will give the signed affidavits to each for each of the people who, as well as the printout from the county's website that shows the map, the parcel numbers for each of the individual residents. We have tried to make this as easy and, most importantly, as accurate as possible for you guys to make a decision. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Melcher. Following Adam will be Thomas Stevenson. Adam.
Good evening, esteemed committee members. My name is Adam Melcher from the Harpeth Woods Subdivision. Our county is poised for a new chapter of growth. While we look forward to the possibilities that tomorrow bring, we also cherish the right to participate in the decisions that shape our neighborhoods, environment, and our way of life. The urban growth boundary was envisioned as a safeguard against unchecked urban sprawl, yet it's been turned into something threatening our homes, our neighborhoods, and our well-being. These boundaries have far-reaching implications, from altering the landscape of our communities to impacting our local economy and environment. It's only fair that those who live with the results of these changes have a say in the process. Some of you may be wondering why those of us who were recently removed are still here. This has to do with protecting two things that every person in this room is concerned about: our lack of voice and our lack of choice when it comes to our property rights and the decisions of others that affect them. We're not asking you to tell Thompson Station how to run their town, nor are we trying to dictate that someone else should do whatever they want to do with their property. We're simply asking that the wishes of those who do not wish to take part are respected. Allowing residents to have a say does not hinder progress. It enriches it. We share the same goals. We want this growth plan to be passed before the deadline as well, but in a version that benefits those who wish to be included and not to the detriment of those who don't. You have heard many of the reasons from countless residents why they wish to be removed from the growth boundaries. The reasons we have heard as to why these requests have been ignored have been donut holes, smart planning, and we've already changed the map 4 times. Is this the direction this county is heading? Is this really how we can all expect to be treated? Mayor Stover, we understand that this decision will ultimately come down to you, Micah, and the aldermen. Please allow your neighbors and fellow Williamson County residents to have a say in the decisions that shape our neighborhoods, this county, and ultimately our way of life. It costs you nothing to remove us. It costs us everything if you don't.
Stevenson. Following Mr. Stevenson is Sandra Lawrence. Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you. Good evening. We're getting to know each other pretty well here, aren't we? My name's Thomas Stevenson. I'm a resident of the Harpeth Woods subdivision off Lewisburg Pike, right at the corner of Harpeth-Paytonsville Road. As discussed in our recent meetings, we're grateful for the removal of our specific neighborhood, our 2 streets, from the updated map for Thompson Station. However, the persistent issue is the surrounding land that remains on the proposed map, despite resounding opposition from landowners, specifically the land east of Lewisburg Pike. I stand here not only as an advocate for those landowners, but also to voice my personal concerns, because even with our removal, the outcome for us remains largely unchanged if the land encircling us remains in the proposed UGB. First, I want to emphasize that this is fundamentally a property rights issue. We're here tonight to continue our opposition to the proposed map because we feel that our property rights are being threatened. In this UGB process, as Mr. Hafner spoke on earlier, property owners have no official recourse or say in determining the fate of our communities. We're entirely at the mercy of a neighboring town in which we do not live. This challenges the very core of property rights, and it should not be supported in our community. So to the members of this committee, I ask you to reflect on whether you're comfortable with disregarding the desires of property owners and infringing on the rights of county residents. Second, as Adam just touched on, the term proper planning has been thrown around by Thompson Station as a means for grabbing this extra land east of Lewisburg Pike. In our last meeting, they reiterated their need for additional land within their UGB for, quote, planning purposes. And I believe that most of us can see through this rhetoric. If they struggle to provide basic services to their current residents, how does expanding their boundaries aid in planning? And I understand that these issues predate. I understand that most of these issues predate Mayor Stover and Micah. Our simple request is for Thompson Station to first address their own internal issues and ensure the well-being of their existing residents. When they can offer meaningful benefits to us, they can revisit the idea of expansion. But until then, we understand precisely what proper planning means. It means expanding their boundaries to bolster their tax base to compensate for decades of planning negligence within their own current limits.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Thank you. So to the county commissioners in the room and to Mayor Anderson, I ask that you hear the voices of your constituents in this room, the county residents. To the leaders of the other cities, I urge you to contemplate the precedent that's being set here. Will you stand with the rights of property owners or endorse intrusive government intervention and expansion? Because what you decide to do in this process will set the precedent for this process in the future. Once more, we respectfully request that Thompson Station removes the land east of Lewisburg Pike where opposition is overwhelming. Thank you.
Next is Sarah Lawrence. Following Miss Lawrence will be Charlie Hafner. Miss Lawrence?
Sandra Lawrence.
Excuse me, Sandra.
That's all right. And I'm going to provide an alternative view to what you just heard. My name is Sandy Lawrence. My husband and I live on 15 acres at 2053 Lewisburg Pike, just south of Thompson Station Road. Jack is a lifelong resident of the county, and I have been here since the mid-'80s. We have long felt that development was running rampant with no planning for necessary infrastructure. I'm not sure it has been made clear to the public the difference between the urban growth boundary and annexation. From what research I have done, to my fellow agricultural landowners, you cannot be annexed by a city against your will in the state of Tennessee. So even though you're in their urban growth boundary, I would respectfully ask the county lawyers to clarify this one way or the other for my fellow residents. I understand their concern. For us personally, the county slamming the brakes on by changing the zoning from 1 house per acre to 1 house per 5 acres was closing the barn door after the horse was out. We had 1 acre, $1 million homes built on our fence line, but we were suddenly told we could not do the same. Our land is our retirement. Our only hope now is to join Thompson Station, where we might get the appropriate zoning for our land in order to sell. In our conversations with Micah Wood and others from Thompson Station, we have felt respected and heard. We have gotten the sense that they truly want to plan for the future in a rational way. And Jack and I want to express gratitude to them and to everyone who has worked on this for your often unappreciated efforts in what has been a can't make anyone happy, thankless process. Thank you.
Next is Mr. Charlie Hafner. Following that will be Sherry Booker Reynolds.
Well, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being out here. And those of you who were elected of the people, by the people, and for the people, pray you will keep that in mind. I think everybody's pretty much said everything. I ain't going to waste your time. I just ask that you prayerfully consider what is being asked. I don't envy your position for what you're being asked to decide, but I just pray you'll do it in a manner that's benefit for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Hafner. Sherry Booker Reynolds, followed by Jane Sadler.
My name is Sherry Booker Reynolds. I live at Casey Springs and Joe Pope Road in the Burwood area. I grew up here in Franklin, but spent many afternoons and summers at my mother's Pope family farm. My great-great-grandfather, Osborne Pope, bought a 20-acre parcel of land in 1882. The land has remained in my family ever since. My twin daughters are the 8th generation of Pope descendants to live in the Burwood area. My husband and I love watching them run around our 5-acre property. They love playing with their chickens and have started a business selling their chickens' eggs. We enjoy hiking the acres of woods that lie between us and our neighbor and still preserve relics of our family's farming roots on our property, a 1930s tractor and wagon. We built our current home in the year 2000 on part of the Pope family farm. I moved from Franklin to the farm to enjoy a more calm, relaxing environment. Almost 25 years later, Our farm is still the same calm, relaxing environment. 8 generations from the time my first ancestors came to this area. My family remains in the area, preserving our family's rich history. We do not want annexation or urban growth, I think it was called. We want to keep our area beautiful with rolling farmlands for many generations to come. So thank you for your attention and thank you for voting no to expand into our area.
James Sadler is next. Following that is, I think it's Kathy Green.
Good evening. My name is Jane Sadler, and I live at 4650 Gander Branch Road, Thompson Station. I've been to several of the meetings, and I'd like to say that when I left the October growth meeting, I was frustrated and disappointed with the whole process. It appeared to me that it was only concerning hitting a deadline to submit this process to the state. If we need to take more time to get this right, because we have so many citizens who are so concerned, then I think we should slow down and hit more deadlines. That December 13th deadline I know will come, and we have to start the process over again. But if we have to do it multiple times, does it matter? We need to do this right. The citizens have requested time and time and time again to be removed from either the UGBs of Spring Hill or Thompson Station. And both municipalities have removed some, but not all. Why? Why can a landowner not get out of your UGB? If a landowner wants to be in your UGB because they think it will increase their property values, rose petals are strewn at their feet and they are welcomed in the door and they are allowed to be in. But those of us who want out, the residents who want away from this, they are made to jump through hoop after hoop after hoop. They say, both municipalities say they need these areas in order to better plan for growth. Why those areas? What growth are you anticipating? Who has approached you for this growth and what are their plans? We know the majority of them are developers, and developers don't care about the rural character. We should concern ourselves with our rural character. We have to maintain our ecosystem. That means maintaining the land, maintaining the animals. Everything has to be preserved. Neither municipality has done much in the way of real planning. Look at the congested traffic in these municipalities. I encourage any of you who do not live in the area to drive down 65 at between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, or try going down 431. Try picking a night when the approved amphitheater has a concert and see what you like about that. Both municipalities have over 7,000 residences platted, though not built. Why do they need more growth? With these alone, it will require more schools, updated roads, additional emergency services. At what expense and how many more tax dollars? They need to focus on what they currently have in the works, and if they can demonstrate a willingness to work with neighbors, then in 5 years when the UGB is reviewed again, maybe we'll be more willing to join them. It's time to tell them no additional growth at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Sadler. Next is Kathy Green, and then following Ms. Green is Janet Curtis.
Hi, I'm Kathy Green. We live on Bethesda Road. We have a farm on Harpeth-Paynesville Road where our son lives that's been in our family for 5 generations. My dad's family is also from Burwood, so I'm pretty much covering the whole southern county. Before this process began, I knew there were some elected officials that don't care how their decisions affect their neighbors, especially if you can't vote for them. And something that was said earlier and something that's been said in the meetings, we all know what a UGB and annexation means, or the majority of us do. Just because we can't be put in their city doesn't mean that they can't build apartments next to us or an industrial park or an amphitheater. You ask anybody on Harpeth School Road, about how their life has been affected on their one-way in and out. But traffic has been created by upzoning and amphitheater. Microphones are not on for public comments. Thompson Station can't even mail us notices or answer how many acres they are attempting to add to the UGB. We've been called the landowner of the day and having aldermen post hurt feeling statuses and insinuating that they're more intelligent than we are. They think they know better than the people whose families who have resided on this same property for generations. Some of them have been here for 200 years. And some of us that you guys have belittled, we made the decisions that made this county what it is. We made those decisions. Many of you moved here because of the reputation of the county from things that we did. And then you don't want to listen to us. So you would be wise, instead of dismissing us, to ask us what our opinions are and to work with us and to keep it a wonderful place. And I want to remind the elected officials that you are elected to serve the people, not vice versa. We're not here to serve you. You are not entitled to somebody else's property because you finally did some infrastructure. You don't get a pat on the back for that. That doesn't entitle you to other residents' property because with all those building permits you did, you finally built a road. That doesn't entitle you to something. And finally, I'm just going to address the elected officials of Spring Hill and Thompson Station. I have watched this growth for decades. I've lived here my whole 55 years.
30 seconds.
And you guys have fought for years over everything like a toddler over a toy. Brentwood and Nolensville sat down together and worked for their residents to come up with the best plan. And you guys can do that. Y'all are both new. The past decisions aren't on you. You don't have to continue that pattern. We all suffer when you guys fight and make bad decisions. We're all sitting in traffic at the spotlights because y'all don't get along.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Stop.
Next is Janet Curtis, followed by Josh Clendenden. Okay.
My name is Janet Curtis. I live at 3665 North Chapel Road. Unlike most of the residents here, I live on the east side of Franklin. I live in Mays Creek Basin, as does Kathy Weber. Unfortunately, our area has been in the UGB for 20 years, which we did not know at the time that we could possibly get out of it if we wanted to. Well, now it may be too late, but we have received nothing in the 20 years we've been in the UGB. I've lived in the city of Franklin. I've lived here for 33 years. I live in the county as well. I am very upset because of the fact that the county has asked, when they were doing all this research, to have meetings for us to come and express what we wanted in the county and in the UGBs. And we all said we wanted town and country. Well, has anybody listened to us? Because now the UGB, when you're in the UGB, you get to go to the city first to ask to be out of it. And what's happening is the landowners are now asking to be annexed, which means that they can build whatever the city allows them to build. And a lot of times they're going against their own zoning regulations. They're going against their staff's recommendations. We do not want this. We live in the county for a reason. My grandson has grown up watching deer in our backyard, and he thinks that's wonderful. We do not want commercial on our street. We have ball fields, we have soccer fields, we have people that own 10 acres, 18 acres, 5 acres. We don't need commercial on our street. We don't need high density. We don't want it. On 96, they say, okay, 96 is going to be widened to 4 lanes. Well, in 14 months between Arno Road and Cox Road, there have been 116 accidents on that road. I personally have had people pass me on the left in the construction zone. They tailgate so close I can't see their headlights. If you think that 4 lanes is going to make this any easier, you are wrong. It has taken me 15 minutes to turn off of my street. There are times that it's taken me 4 traffic lights to get off of 96 in the interstate. You can't get emergency vehicles through there. You've let the horse out of the barn before you've closed the door too often. You're recruiting businesses to come here, which are bringing people without the infrastructure, without the security of the police,
30
the
seconds.
fire. You need to sit back, you need to take control, and you need to keep thinking that the growth is going to pay for itself. It does not. Thank you.
Josh Clendenin, and following him is Huntley Gordon, I think. Josh.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Josh Clendenin. I'm the executive pastor of Southview Church down in Spring Hill. We currently have land at 4360 Columbia Pike, just at the north end of Thompson Station there. I'm kind of a minority in this aspect in that I want to come and say thank you, because some of the UGB considerations that have been worked through have benefited us with regards to our property. We were released from the Franklin UGB, and now we're anticipating and asking to be included in the Thompson Station UGB. We've met with the leadership of Thompson Station, and we're excited about the potential to be annexed into the town of Thompson Station, to be an asset to the community, to those that sit behind me, as well as everybody else in the area. We don't plan to build a giant church with a giant steeple or be a group of people that just meets on a Sunday. We want to be an asset to the community through things like a park. We have 13 acres. We have a park in our master plan, a park built out with sports courts and things like that, where folks can come and actually enjoy more than just a Sunday, more than just a weekend service. For those that believe they can come in and catch one of our services, or for those that just want to come and walk their kids around or let their kids play in a park. That's what our heart is when it comes to being a part of the town of Thompson Station. I know that this is a contentious effort that you guys are undertaking, and I very much appreciate all of the prayerful consideration. But like I said, for us, we just want to be a part of a town that we can bless. That's our goal, and that's what we're asking, is to allow us to be included into the town of Thompson Station, into their UGB, as we continue to grow and be an asset to the community. Thank you.
Next is Huntley Gordon, and following that is Drew Keenan. Mr. Gordon.
Good evening. I wish to reiterate some concerns expressed at the last meeting.
I do need for you to do your name and...
Huntley Gordon, 1940, Lewisburg Pike, Franklin. I wish to reiterate, I'm having a problem with that word tonight, concerns expressed at the last meeting. Since the adoption of the UGB in 2001, 22 years ago, property on West Harpeth Road has been in the Franklin UGB. TCA 658-106 mandates a municipality shall identify a territory sufficiently large to accommodate residential and non-residential growth for 20 years. This territory should be contiguous to existing boundaries, territory which the municipality is better able and prepared to serve than other municipalities. It also must reflect the municipality's duty to facilitate full development of resources within the current boundaries and to manage and control urban expansion to efficiently and effectively provide urban services. The prevailing case law uses sensible and acceptable as its standard. Some of the West Harpeth property owners during these last 20 years have twice sought sewer availability and urban service from the city of Franklin and have twice been denied. Property in the Franklin UGB within Southwest Basin 2 and Southwest Basin 3, although within the Franklin UGB for 22 years, according to recent planning reports from the city of Franklin, still have an unknown timeline for extension of sewer and urban service, and the city's annexation capability analysis remains long-term without budgeted funding. The duties undertaken by municipalities in identifying property for inclusion in an UGB are not discretionary. TCA 658-106 is clear. The urban growth boundary for a municipality shall efficiently and effectively provide urban services. For the reasons stated above, The property within Southwest Basin 2 and Southwest Basin 3 should not be within the Franklin UGB. As members of this coordinating committee, you are the appropriate body to address this issue, and it is incumbent upon you to address and mediate these concerns. To hold the represented municipalities accountable to provide the promised services in a timely manner or exclude the property from their UGB. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Drew Keenan. Following Mr. Keenan will be, well, I've got both names, Bobby and Denise Stokes. So one of you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Andrew Keenan of West Harpeth Road. I'm here to petition you all to help keep Thompson Station in check, to protect the surrounding citizens of the county from the negative effects of unsustainable growth. While we would like to see Thompson Station's UGB reduced even further, I urge you to please take out the Ozad property on the north side of West Harpeth Road from Thompson Station's UGB. This is the property that is 150 acres, where Thompson Station wants to use at least 55 acres for drip fields and put at least 150 houses on the remaining acreage. Based on a document shared at their recent BOMA meeting, the lots in this development will average around 1/4 of an acre in size, not at all in line with the 1 acre plus lots that are in the area that is a transition zone to the rural area of the county. Last meeting, if you will recall, Thompson Station failed to answer the actual question when we asked them what the lot sizes will be. They would only give a number of houses and a number of acres on the lot. We're not trying to tell anyone what they can and they can't do with their land. The developer knew going into the purchase of this property that the land was county zoned for a minimum of 1 acre lots, just like the adjacent neighborhoods in the area were. We would like to see this space developed in the county with protected, privately held green space and not cluster houses with sewage fields, better known as brown spaces. As an example, what if I wanted to turn my backyard into an airport, having commercial planes taking off and landing day and night, disregarding how it would negatively impact my neighbors? It's my land after all, right? But this is not how it works because we have zoning laws. All we want is for the county to maintain the land so it can keep its current zoning. We are not impeding on the rights of the developer who owns the land. They are impeding our rights as residents. The track record of Thompson Station shows a very clear message. Upzoning, dense cluster developments. These are how they intend to fill their already large existing city limits. So to the representatives of Williamson County, you are our voice as residents of unincorporated Williamson County. Please stand up for your constituents. To the city of Franklin, you voted in your BOMA meeting to help keep the Ozad property in the county. Please uphold your vote. And everyone else on this board, please help protect your constituents as well as helping us to stop this unsustainable growth in Williamson County. We already have a huge traffic problem in the south portion of the county with no fixes in the works yet. There's plenty of undeveloped land that has already been annexed by Thompson Station. Let's pause and see if they can be good stewards of the beautiful parts of Williamson County that they have already claimed before adding even more potential land to be recklessly and unsustainably developed. Thank you.
Bobby and or Denise Stokes, and then following that, we have two more. Then that'll wrap it up for this evening that all have signed up. Both of you.
Yeah, I signed us both in. Denise and Bobby Stokes, 1501 Casey Creek Lane, Thompson Station. And we're right on the border of the growth boundary. And we've driven through, we've lived in Northwest Williamson County. We've lived in Williamson County all of our adult lives. And we've driven down 31 to go to Columbia for 40 years, where there was one red light in Spring Hill. And the only thing that I would really like to ask you guys, if you could look around at the infrastructure is not right, and you start building more houses, more people, that's not going to get any better. Yeah. The traffic situation, and you're still looking at fiber, sewer, natural gas, there's water drainage and stuff, the more you build, and if nobody's taking care of what we have now, then it's not going anywhere.
Never looked around and said, you know what we need is more people down here. but that and more people are fine. It just needs to be managed, and we haven't seen a history or a lot of substance that planning has happened more than saying, here, you guys go build some stuff because you want to, regardless of what these other guys say or need. I think we would request to be removed from the urban growth plan and respectfully do that in case you guys can't see your way to see clear to do that or can't remember that. It's true we don't vote for a lot of you guys, but some of you we do. And if your memory isn't that strong when it comes to this consideration, I suspect these people in this room, their memory will be a little bit better when it's time to vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Melody Robertson, followed by Rob Schaffner, excuse me. Melody Robertson. Robinson, excuse me.
Allowing our voices
Closer to the mic.
hear me.
Now we can.
I'm Melanie Robinson. My family lives within the city limits of Thompson Station on Country Haven Drive. We moved here in 2018, and we were actually told that it was good that we had moved to Thompson Station, that it was a more sensible choice because Thompson Station still preferred their rural to semi-rural atmosphere and wanted to avoid overdevelopment. But now in 2023, we are overrun with new and soon-to-be new developments. To our east, Spring Hill is allowing the building of hundreds of new apartments. 240 will actually be basically in our backyard, but there will be even hundreds more beyond that. To our west, we will now see homes that are part of the 350 houses to be built in the Parson Valley subdivision. And there's also plans now for at least 250 apartments along Thompson Station Road East, just behind Thompson Station Church. Now, where is all of the traffic from these neighborhoods going to go? It's going to go into Thompson Station Road and Highway 31. Where we live, we do not have a choice to resist being in the UGB or to resist annexation because we are already within the city limits. I've been told Thompson Station actually incorporated in 1990 to avoid annexation by Spring Hill and be part of all of its overdevelopment. But now it's getting hard to tell the difference between the two communities. Our way of life is being, thank you, our way of life is being irrevocably altered for the worst. These new developments within Thompson Station with inadequate infrastructure are changing the peaceful rural nature of our community. The increase of traffic on our roads by the thousands will threaten the safety of our residents. The rampant overgrowth does not represent the desires of current tax-paying constituents. I've been told that we need to ask next to review the plan of service to make sure that proper infrastructure is in place prior to Thompson Station trying to annex other areas of the county or pursuing new development within existing city limits.
30 seconds, please.
Do you realize how angry and disappointed your constituents are? Questions are being raised such as, can we change our zoning? Can we be de-annexed from Thompson Station? Can we have a recall election? It's time for a change of direction in Thompson Station. We need leadership we can trust to have our best interest at heart instead of the developers. My question to this committee is this. Why would you approve Thompson Station the possibility to annex more land from the county if many of its current citizens believe Thompson Station is not responsibly managing development within its existing city limits? Thank you.
Last person that is signed up, Rob.
My name is Rob Schaefer. I live in Burwood, 1804 Pope's Chapel Road, just down from Huff's. Let me tell you how the rural nature is changing in our county. Now, I know most of you have seen it, but it has changed a lot. I retired a couple years ago, so I slept in for a while. And I wondered, where are all these cars coming from? It can't be this busy. So I got up early at 6:08, and I counted cars going by my driveway. 996 cars in 2 hours. Now, I'm not making it up. I might not have gotten it all right, but it adds up to that. It's when people talk about the county and things growing, that number was a staggering number to me. If you're on the fence about how to vote, go get a sandwich at Huff's and see how long it takes. Charlie's going to have a heart attack. One other thing. I stood out at Thompson Station Church a couple years ago and was handing out flyers for an election. And the mayor of Thompson Station, not the current mayor, I said, you know, what are you standing on? He says, I want to have growth with no regret. I think we're past that point. It's not going to get any better. That's all I got to say, but that's sure a lot of lines for 2 hours. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a refresher for some of you that came in later. This committee is not voting tonight. It is a committee that is listening to your remarks. Several people are making notes. Creed, can you hear me in the back? It is being taped. Creed, can you hear me in the back? If you can, stick your head out. When will this be developed?
It'll be available in the next couple days on our YouTube channel and on the county's website.
All right. So it'll be posted on the county's website. You too, you can go and listen to the remarks, hear the individuals if you so desire. Christy, Dale, Greg, Christy, Mike, anything else? Jeff, Joe? So we have another public hearing?
15th.
The 15th? Right here. 15th, 6 o'clock, right here. Considering that we didn't change the clocks back, we did pretty good. It's only 8:10, but it's really 7:10, and it's dark outside. Any other comments? Thank you all for your participation. This is the way the process should work.